next government scheme is Deen Dayal, Upadhyaya, Jyoti Yojana, in short Ddu-Gjy. Now, why this scheme is important for your prelims? Because there is a high possibility that Saubhagya scheme, which is also related with rural electrification. Now, what they do is that you need to understand that how UPSC cheats you or how UPSC puts you in trouble. They put the features of this scheme in Saubhagya because Deen Dayal, Upadhyaya, Jyoti Yojana and Saubhagya scheme is having many common features. So they can trap you with that. So when you study this scheme, after reading this scheme or after watching this video, make sure that you also watch the Saubhagya video. That is the next video, 10th government scheme. I am putting it together and you can compare the material and have a note of it. Okay, what you need to stress on, I will discuss it. Now, from the term, see, when you try to answer a government scheme, try to read the scheme carefully. Okay, you need to have, if you can understand the meaning of the Hindi word meaning of, then you can make a guess of it. Okay, what this scheme is all about. Then with the your knowledge which you are having, you can eliminate many choices. Now, regarding, basically this is a Jyoti Yojana. Okay, so from the term itself, you will get to know that this is related with, gram means village. So it's a village electrification scheme. Now, we don't know the finer details of it. Okay, it is something related with village electrification. Now we'll see in detail. So it's something, so the scheme is giving importance to rural, that is village electrification. Now we'll see it, okay, what is the scheme is all about. Now, just before going to the scheme, we will have an idea about the electrification of rural area. What is the present situation of the rural area, or what was the situation before introducing this scheme? Okay, and how this scheme have performed, and what will be the impact of the scheme, or what is the salient feature of the scheme. Now, the problem with this rural area is that both the domestic consumer as well as agricultural consumers, means agricultural consumer means the electricity which will be required for agricultural purpose, mainly farming purpose. For example, most important main source of irrigation, for irrigation, you require electricity. Okay, you require, if you want to pump water for irrigation, you require electricity. So, a huge like power is used in the rural area for agricultural purposes. And because of this usage of agricultural purposes, electricity for agricultural purposes, the domestic rural consumer faces insufficient electricity supply, and that have resulted in load shedding in many of the, even though electricity connection is there, but there is no sufficient supply of electricity because of over usage of electricity in the rural area. And because of that, this distribution companies, this electricity distribution, power distribution companies go for load shedding. Okay, so the main reason for is that the supply network, the transmission network for both rural consumer, for domestic consumer as well as agricultural consumer is the same network. So this scheme, one of the objective of this scheme is that separation of feeders. One of the objective of this scheme is that feeder separation. You need to understand what do you mean by feeder separation. Feeder separation means instead of having a single transmission line, there will be two separate lines. One line for the domestic consumption purposes and one for agricultural purposes. So the distribution companies can regulate the consumption of power, especially the agricultural purposes, so that the domestic consumer will get almost like 24/7 power supply. So, you know, and also the required agricultural consumer also will get it, but based on a regulation. So this is actually the purpose of this scheme. Basically, it's not only about rural electrification, but also optimum utilization of electricity by the rural consumer, both domestic as well as agricultural consumer. Now we'll see it, okay. So this rural agricultural and non-agricultural consumer, non-agricultural means domestic consumer, are generally serviced through local distribution network. So the local electricity distribution network. Many rural area faces insufficient electricity supply because of the load shedding happens. The demand of power in rural area is, this is a very important point to be noted on. The demand in rural areas is increasing mainly due to changing consumer base and improving living standards of the rural people. So because of the improving living standards of the rural people and the changing consumer base, we need to augment the rural infrastructure, mainly electricity infrastructure. Now, the investment in the distribution network, okay, there is a investment in the local distribution network, transmission network is weak because of the bad financial health of the power distribution company. Now, this is another very important scheme. We have a very important scheme which we will be discussing under infrastructure, what is called as Upadhyaya. Upadhyaya is trying to address this problem of bad financial health of these power distribution companies. Okay, so because of the bad financial health of the power distribution companies, these companies invest less in distribution network. So if you want to have a reliable and quality supply of electricity, what we need to do? We need to augment the distribution network in the rural area. So by having feeder separation, by investing more on this rural distribution network, the government will try to address this problem of the rural electricity problem. So this is another very important objective, that in order to improve the commercial viability of power distribution companies, we need to ensure that all categories of consumers metering should be done, electricity metering should be done, both for domestic as well as agricultural consumer. Now this is the most important point. In this scheme, only this point is very important for you. What are the four main objectives of what are the four main objectives of Deen, Dayal, Upadhyaya, Jyoti Yojana? UPSC can ask this question, okay? Which of the following is not a feature of this scheme? Or which one of they will ask either ABCD question or statement wise question. Now, these four, now what UPSC can do is that one of these objective from here will be taken and they will put you, see, I'm 100, or I cannot say 100, I can say that 95% I'm expecting a question either on this scheme or on Saubhagya scheme. Okay, so what UPSC will do? It will take the features of this scheme and put you in Saubhagya scheme. So if you know that this is an objective of Deen Dayal Jyoti Yojana, then you can easily eliminate it, and if a Saubhagya question comes, you can answer it. Okay, so four major objectives of this scheme is, first is to provide electrification to all villages. Okay, see, it is not all household, it is to all villages. Keep this in mind, to provide electrification to all villages. There is no classification of BPL or non-BPL. It is to all villages. All villages. It's a village program. Rural means village electrification program, and the focus is on village. So that is the first objective. Second objective is feeder separation. Second objective is feeder separation, and you know why feeder separation is required in rural area. To ensure sufficient power to farmers as well as regular supply to domestic consumer. Other consumer here means domestic consumer. Third objective is improvement of sub-transmission and distribution network to improve the quality and reliability of the electricity supply. So that is the third objective. Fourth objective is metering to reduce the electricity losses. Okay, so these are the four major objectives. I will tell you this is sufficient for you to answer this question or Saubhagya question, but because I feel that if a Saubhagya question is being asked, they will put the features of this scheme. Okay, all villages, feeder separation, improvement in the supply chain, sub-transmission and distribution network. Fourth is metering to reduce the losses. Metering means to meter all the categories of the consumers. Now, what is the financial provision of this scheme? So the government has given an outlay of 76,000 crore for implementing this scheme, and out of this 76,000 crore, the government will give a grant of 63,000. Note the word grant, not loan. Government will give a grant of 63,000 crore. So the government is giving very importance to rural electrification. Now, what are the benefits of the scheme? See, it's not that much important for you. This is important for your mains point of view. But just have an idea. So, by having all the villages electrified, or also to address the this problem associated with rural electricity consumption. So what will happen? Under the scheme, all villages and households shall be electrified. Okay. So keep this in mind. Here, this scheme is not giving importance to household, but automatically, these are the benefits. These are the benefits. It's not, see, obviously when villages get electrified, naturally, household will get electrified. So, electrifying household is not the objective of the scheme. Rather, electrifying villages is the objective of the scheme. So, don't get confused. Increase in, obviously, with a regular supply of electricity, what will happen? The farmers will get regular power supply for agricultural purposes, and that will help in agricultural need. Then business for small and household enterprises will grow because of, and thereby resulting employment, improvement in health, education, banking services, especially ATM services, improved access to radio, telephone, television, internet, etc. Betterment in social security due to availability of electricity, accessibility of electricity to school, panchayat, hospital, police station, etc. Rural areas shall get increased opportunity for comprehensive development, because electricity play a very important role in comprehensive development of the village. And scheme is one of the flagship program of the Ministry of Power, and it's facilitate it's aiming to ensure 24/7 supply of electricity. Now, so we discussed the objective. This is another important thing. What are the salient features of this scheme? Now, the earlier scheme, rural electrification scheme, that is what is called as Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana, have been subsumed under this Deen, Dayal, Upadhyaya, Gram Jyoti Yojana. So, this earlier UPA government scheme have been subsumed. Rural electrification scheme has been subsumed. Now, all DISCOMs, means power distribution companies, will get financial assistance under this scheme. Okay, so the grant will be transferred through this to these power distribution companies. Now, who is implementing this scheme? Rural Electrification Corporation is the nodal NGO for the implementation of the scheme. So, we will compare it. Who is implementing Saubhagya scheme? So, these things you need to compare this scheme with the Saubhagya scheme. So, REC, which is a public sector undertaking, is implementing this scheme. Now, UPSC can ask a question on Rural Electrification Corporation also. Which category of company it is, whether it is a Navaratna company or Mini Ratna company or Maharatna company. So, that we'll be discussing in some other topic regarding rural electrification. Under infrastructure we'll discuss. Or under industry, under industry we'll discuss. Now, regarding the funding mechanism of this scheme. Now, under this funding mechanism, again funding mechanism of this scheme you have to compare with Saubhagya's funding mechanism. Okay. Now, regarding the funding mechanism of this scheme, I told you one of the attractive features of this scheme is that a major portion of this fund is released through grant. So, no extra liability for the financial burden on the state government or the state power distribution company is comparatively lesser. So, for non-special category states, the grant is 60%, and this grant will be enhanced to 75% if the particular state achieve prescribed milestone. So, what are the prescribed milestone? We will see it. Okay. So, for a normal state, which is not a non-special, which are not special category states, grant will be 60%, and if they achieve prescribed this milestone, this grant, the center will increase from 60% to 75%. And for special category states, the grant is 85%, and this grant will be increased to 90% if they achieve the prescribed milestones. So, this is very important. Funding mechanism is important. Okay. Second is, what are the milestones under this scheme? The milestones are additional grant. Milestones are additional, the milestones for additional grant are timely completion. The scheme have to be completed by the state government on time. Means the state government have to support. Even the nodal agency is Rural Electrification Corporation. The state government support is very important. So, if the completion of the scheme is timely implemented in this state, that is one factor. Then whether reduction in the aggregate technical and commercial losses is another important factor. And upfront release of subsidy by the, so now the state government also have a, see, I told you the entire full funding is not done by the center. Some portion have to be released by the state government. So, how much state government is releasing as subsidy to these power distribution company or for other objective of this scheme, for example, metering, etc. So, these are the three features on which this additional grant will be given, that is timely completion, reduction in ATSC losses, and subsidy released by the state government. Now, just have an idea which all states comes under this special category states. Now, all northeastern states, including Sikkim, is special. They are special category states. They have been included under special category states. Other than these northeastern states and Sikkim, other states which have been included under special category states are, one is Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. Basically, hilly areas, hilly states, where the resource mobilization is comparatively lower for these states compared to other states. So just not related with this, but since special category states is mentioned, just have an idea, easy to remember also. So that's all regarding this Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Jyoti Yojana. Thank you.